Howdy, Michael, a Mercedes guy here, and today we're doing a front window regulator on a 116 body. Now we've already done a video on a rear door, but the front is a little different. One is we want to pull off this adjuster for the mirror. It's a little tricky. I'm going to go ahead and just take it off, and then I'll show with it in my hand, show how it is designed and how it's removed. This is what it looks like when it's on. So to remove it, you want to get a real teeny screwdriver right in there and pry that piece outwards. Then you can slide this off and remove this, leaving your handle bare. So now the door panel will go up high enough, because the door panel, to take it off, needs to move up. In contrast to earlier models like the 108s, where you pop the panel off. Okay, we've got the door panel off, which is similar to the video on removing the rear door panel. And the way the front door is designed, this window guide right here makes it impossible to remove this regulator with the motor attached, unless you pull the glass out and pull out the rubber channel and pull out the guide. However, Mercedes has 3 holes to access the 3 Allen-headed bolts that hold the motor onto the regulator. So we will pull that motor off separately. Now I see that these screws look badly rusted, so we may break those off. We'll see. Okay, when you've got bound up screws, you want to tighten a little bit, loosen, tighten, loosen, tighten, and see if we get that turning. They commonly break off. It looks like we got it made on that one. Okay, now of course we disconnected the battery, although it's not super necessary, but whenever you're doing anything electrical, just be on the safe side and pull off the negative cable off the battery. So those are the screws we need to remove with an Allen socket in order to get the motor off of the regulator. Get in here. These are extra long on these models. And I'm going to reach around to contain that motor so it doesn't go banging around inside the door. Okay, so I almost got that sucker out of there. I put some tape on the end of the Allen to provide more internal friction. Okay, normally, and this is the type of clip that holds the arm to the rail on the bottom of the window. However, this car has a different type of clip that normally you can get your fingernail underneath that and pull it up and pop it off, but this has a wraparound piece here, so in that case you got to get your fingernail in there to pull that up and pop the clip off. Okay, so we got that clip off, and we're going to take some tape and hold that window up. And take off the supports. This is actually one for the door check, although on many of these models they have provision for an additional mount, and that screw would come out about right here. And so when doors don't have the hole, I put one in and pull a mount from a junk regulator to put in so that it has additional support. So our regulator is now loose. And as you can see, this piece of die cast is supposed to be on a flat plane. And of course it's gotten twisted out of shape. What happens is, you run your window clear up to the top, and on a hot day, it will start bending and bending and bending. So it's always a good idea to run your window to the top and then just hit the button for the window to come down just a hair. That will relieve the stress on this and make it last a lot longer. And as you can see, some of the teeth are worn off on the edge, and the problem with this window is it would go up almost to the top and then go click, 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 because the teeth are sliding over each other. So I have a regulator that I have put on my steel plate. Previous video you can look at. And I've warmed up this die cast with a propane torch, and it is, as you can see, flat again, and the teeth are lined up real nice. Okay, now also on your replacement regulator, you want to make sure that this nylon guide is in place. As you can see, there's a nylon thing. This is a regulator from the other side, and as you can see, that nylon is gone. And there's really no way to replace that nylon. So that one is actually toast. So normally we go ahead and replace that regulator, but this door check is broken. So now is the time to replace the door check. Okay, you want to pull this rubber off. We're replacing this door check. That way it exposes the pin, and there'll be a little keeper on the bottom. And then we've got two screws here, rather than the early models that have screws this way. And then this nut right here. Somebody has replaced this door check, obviously. It's got a lot of writing on it, and there's no clip on the bottom. Okay, once we have this clip off, tap this up, and then use a pair of side cutters carefully. Up you go. Now, this is a critical stage. You don't want to be doing this when the wind's blowing, because this door can swing around and crease on the fender. So you either want to have an assistant or take a piece of rope and tie around here and around your leg just to make sure. Now I'm going to check. Okay, we do have a teeny bit of clearance. But if the wind was blowing, I would certainly have somebody holding this or a rope around my leg. Okay. I've already loosened these Phillips here. You want to keep track of the orientation of that rubber. And this has very little pressure because it's broken right there. And it's ready to break off right there. So this one's toast. Okay, one thing you want to check, the rear door checks, or door keepers, have a different length strap than the fronts. So I'm comparing these, and they are identical lengths. So this is a front one. I pulled this off the shelf, and this is something you want to keep track of. You can see threads in there, but on this one you can't, because there's a metal plate that shoves in there that's missing. So even this, though this one is not broken here, it still will not function without those plates. So we got another good one here. And I usually like to lubricate these just a little bit. A little bit of wheel bearing grease. So that those rollers roll easier, because that'll keep it from breaking. Okay, and I like to put the pin in before I start bolting it up. You want to get this little rubber baby back on the way it was. And there's normally two of these little nylons. There's one of them missing, but they aren't that critical. So we'll get the pin started in there. Oh, that went in nice. You have to get it all the way down in order to get the clip on the bottom. And then this rubber slides over. Alrighty, then we put in our fasteners.